Okay, hello, listeners. This is the Live Well podcast, and today, Hilary, Marshall, and myself, Marial,
Hi.
we're going to discuss a very, very hot topic, and that is the Rhode Island statewide housing grant.
Yes.
Before we dive into this, however, I want to let our listeners know that it's going to be best to speak with a mortgage lender in the fine print details.
100%.
However, Hilary and I are going to go through some of the fun, exciting aspects of this grant program to the best of our ability and what we've been taught. So we're just kind of like trickling down the knowledge.
Yes.
So our goal today is to talk about the grant, but also give buyers some confidence in buying a home in today's market.
Yes.
Okay, so how do we want to get started? Should I just go through this flyer here? Let's talk about the deets.
So the first thing, too, is that with the high prices, because obviously sellers have a lot of equity in their homes, when someone goes to list their property, they look at the comps, and I'm telling you, the comps are finally supporting those high prices. The one thing, too, is that with low inventory, it is a little bit of a seller's market still for that reason. This is what I like to call, and especially with this program out, is a seller's market with a buyer's advantage.
Sure.
This definitely is helpful, having not only this program, but other opportunities to work with your buyer's agent to figure out what can I do for my offer to make my offer get accepted in this high market.
Sure, I agree. And I think, too, to continue on your topic of buyers having an advantage now.
Yeah.
Before we dive into the grant, it's like home prices are still high. Inventory still feels low.
Yeah.
But the buyers are still maintaining some of their power back with negotiations, submitting, I don't want to say lowball offers. You see them.
Reasonable
Offers. There's inspections are back. So all those things should be very exciting for a buyer.
And to touch on the whole inspection thing is you spend $600 on the inspection, give or take on the inspector, but you also could potentially save thousands, and say an issue comes up that was not disclosed in the seller disclosures. This could now be negotiated when it never could.
Yeah.
I had buyers in the past 2-3 years that we couldn't ask for anything.
You just waived it. You don't even have it.
Even my own house. I'm like, okay, the seller said the roof was 9 years old or 10 years old, but the inspector and a roofer both said it's on its last leg. Yeah. So those are things that you're like.
Yeah. So buyers should be excited about that. The other thing that we touched upon in a previous YouTube video, which is buy down and pay down programs.
Yep.
I'm not going to get too far into those things, but they are exciting. So if you're listening and you're curious about pay down or buy down programs, those are great benefits for buyers to have the seller pay the mortgage. So if you're like, oh my God, what is that? Google it or check out our page for buy down programs.
Yeah, always touch base with us or even your lender too.
Yes.
That's why having a local lender is so valuable for so many reasons. They're going to get the job done, and they want to build the relationship with the realtors here locally. Yeah. But they have your best interest at heart because you are going to become their friend, their neighbor, at the end of the day.
Totally. Okay, so buy down programs are huge. So now, on top of that is this cute little cherry we're calling the Rhode Island Housing Grant.
Yep.
Which
is amazing. I mean, this is really...
Okay, let's get it out there. Okay. In a nutshell, it is a $17,000, $17,500 grant to assist towards a down payment or your closing costs. That's a lot of money.
Well, and
that is a lot of money.
It can go towards your down payment and the closing costs, as you said. So you can split that. So say you're at 3.5% down and you're only bringing 12.5% to closing. It can also go to your attorney fees, your closing fees. That's crazy.
Yeah.
This is a great opportunity to get into a property that you may not have been able to before.
Yeah, I love this idea. Okay, so it says, this flyer says, this program aims to put homebuyers in reach of more first-time home. This program aims to put homebuyers in reach of more first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
I'm reading this so wrong. I'm sorry. This is this is what children do to your reading brain association.
More opportunity to become the
Homeowners.
American dream.
Okay, so let's go through the details. Okay, to qualify for the Rhode Island statewide DPA grant, be a first-time home buyer purchasing a 1 to 4 family home, which is huge. So you can get a single family, a multifamily, or condo.
Yeah.
Most grants, you have to be very specific. It's like single families only. You're like, ugh. Okay, so that's the first qualification. Second, minimum credit score of 660. So you got to have pretty good credit.
And the other thing is, I think that's probably on the sheet too, is that it has to be your primary home because they want people to have the American dream of home ownership for the first time too. That's the goal. It's not just to say, hey, we can do a multifamily and it's an investment. It's the fact that this is going to be your full-time home too.
And you gotta live in it. You gotta live in the house, people. Okay, meet Rhode Island housing income limits. Okay, let's check out what those limits are. First-time home buyer limits, income limits. $112,000 for 1 to 2 person household.
So that's like your combined income right now. So that's what they're doing at the moment. We just don't know if there's any.
I mean, that's a pretty decent income.
It is. And so say it's like 2 people, you have the combined income of at least 112. You're just like, okay, that's 60 per person, you know?
And
almost.
then for 3+, it's $129,000. So you have to meet the housing income limits. Okay, next one. You have to complete a home buyer education course. Sounds drab, but we'll agree. And then it says other things like obtain a Rhode Island housing funded first mortgage. So I think what they are meaning here is that you have to have, this is the big thing, a signed PNS. You have to have an offer in. And sorry if I'm talking too much. I think it's because I'm so passionate about this because I wanted this for myself. I was like, oh, yes, Rhode Island Housing Grant money so I can purchase a home. I was very excited about this until I realized, okay, you have to have a PNS already signed. I was a little disappointed. However, after speaking to my mortgage lender, they did rebuild my confidence. And this is what he said. All you need is enough money for your initial down payment, which is most home buyers will put, 3 to 5% down. And then you apply for the grant. And as long as you meet these standards and the funding is still available, you'll get the money. It's not like a college application where you might not get in. You get the money. And then at closing, whatever money you put into escrow or whatever deposit check you submitted, you get that money back directly from the attorney. So you're like, oh, okay, great.
Well, and the benefit, too, is that you know these guidelines ahead of time. So even though you haven't applied, there's a good probability that you're going to get it. You know, especially working with a great lender and a great realtor, this will really help to be like, there's no promise at this very moment, but you're going by the guidelines.
Don't let it scare you.
Yeah, don't let it scare you. There's a high probability you'll get it if you know.
Act fast.
Yeah, you
That's
act fast and you qualify for these parameters. This is great. I think one thing we kind of touched on too is there's only a certain amount of money.
I know. I think Tyler said 31
million or something like that.
So
30 million.
Averaged out to about 1,700 applications.
And that's in Rhode Island only. Think of that too. So
Rhode Island only, and also inventory is rather low.
Yeah.
So we were trying to throw some guesses. Like, how long is this going to last?
I could say this could be 3 to 6 months because
that's generous.
Well, you look at the amount of properties that are on the market and you also have all these parameters. Someone may not want to do one of the parameters to qualify for this or may not be able to qualify. So it is limited, but it's also an opportunity that no one had before.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question from a real estate standpoint or realtor standpoint. If a client or a first-time home buyer came to you and they're like, we want to buy something immediately, we want to use this grant, and they're shopping around and all the homes are just garbage.
Yeah.
Like, what would you recommend? What would your advice be? Would you say, buy the piece of shit because you're getting free money, or wait and really just find the house of your dreams? That is the question. That's the question for me.
That is a very, very good question. That I think that's the same question on a lot of people's minds right now.
Because people are going to be hurrying for this. They're like, just buy the house. Let's do this now.
It's so true.
What do you say?
Right now, that's a loaded question because right now there's a lot of houses on the market. Not everything's going to be turnkey. You know, that's the biggest thing is I bought that house myself where it's like I've been chipping away at the project and it's not nowhere near done.
Yeah.
But you look at the value and that you're adding to the property and the equity you're building over time. Kind of like you want to buy the ugly house on a really nice street.
Yeah.
So you really want to, I would always say, buy real estate, you know, and because at the same time, the cost of putting in a new house, you know, building a new house is just going to continue to increase. Population's increasing too, so that's something that we have to think about. And it's not stopping. So I
just had a thought.
Yeah.
You could take the $17,000 that you were going to spend on the down payment and put that towards the renovation in your piece of shit.
Well, and that...
Sorry, you got to bleep this stuff out.
And that's very true, too, is building the equity. Because if you take that $20,000, $30,000 that you're going to spend on that property, now you're subsidizing with the 17, take that additional amount of money
and reinvest it back in the house.
Reinvest it, or keep this as your primary home and go buy a rental property later.
Yeah.
Like, this is a huge thing that no one's talking about.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did ask Jerry from Movement if someone utilizes this grant, purchases a home, lives in it in 1 year, and then rents it out. Mm-hmm. It's totally okay. Mm-hmm. It's totally fair, which is another great tool for someone looking to invest in real estate. You do have to live in the house for 1 year, but 1 year is nothing.
No, it's not. And if you look at also what properties are renting for, you could move in for a year. You could do it up. And you could fix up, you know, kitchens, bath, whatever you want to do, and then really just rent it if you need to. Or can you sell it? You know?
So to answer my vulgar language, sorry, listeners, your advice would be that look at a home's potential. Like if you're in a rush, the home that you might be purchasing will have its flaws. Mm-hmm. But you're giving an amazing opportunity to save some money and put that money into your investment.
100%. I think it's the inventory is not going to change overnight. You know, we're going to continue to have low inventory throughout 2023. So why not make, you know, the best opportunity out of something that may not be beautiful and perfect by the location, by the opportunity that you can put a new kitchen, put a new bath in, and really grow your own wealth. If you have $17,500 just given to you, take that chance. Yeah. Take that opportunity. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been browsing the housing market. My budget's like in between like $350 and $450. And there's not a lot in Rhode Island for that. I think I had a pretty big scope of Newport County into Tiverton, Bristol, and Little Compton, and there was probably about 13 homes for sale. Yep. And they all needed work. Mm-hmm. But what I tried to do was switch my perspective and say, okay, that my down payment is going to be covered. Mm-hmm. So what can I do with my cash to improve the home? Yeah. And a lot of them was like new septics, new roofs, or kitchen reno. And all of those things I think could fall in between like a $10,000 to $30,000 renovation. Yeah. So it's all considerable. Mm-hmm. If people want to utilize this quickly, I think that is the perspective that you have to have is a reno state of mind.
Well, and going back into what I was initially talking about is the buyer's advantage right now is sellers are willing to negotiate if a house stays on the market because they have the they have the equity. Yeah. That's why you've got the high prices for these listings, but sellers are also realizing that if it sits for a little bit and they have a savvy agent who's going to say, hey, we either need to make
market for a long time.
We need to either make a price reduction, or you've got a savvy buyer's agent who's like, here's some opportunities for us to not just make a lowball offer, but make it work for you. Yeah. Now you could do cash back at closing. You can actually do a home inspection, which is crazy. Yeah. We're back to that when we weren't. So
I love that.
Yeah, you do have that chance to really put more money in your pocket than the past couple of years.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that should be enough information to excite people on this Rhode Island grant. If you guys have any questions, just call Hilary. I'm busy doing marketing stuff, so.
Always happy to answer any questions. And the other thing is, adding on to this is the spring market. Everyone's waiting for the spring market. You and everyone's brother.
Yeah.
So jump while the iron's hot, and just kind of go against the grain right now, because everyone's waiting for that big boom of multiple houses to hit the market. And I just don't see it till a long time from now. So
I recommend everyone going to digitalbuyerconsult.com.
Yep.
Go to the team page, search for Hilary, put in an inquiry. She'll run you down the whole entire home buying process. And there's no harm in just getting started now, because we'll never put you in a position to make you feel like you're doing something wrong.
I always do as though I'm telling my best friend what to do. And I always know that, at the end of the day, I care about these people. I want the relationship for a long time, not just a short time. So,
Cheers
helping you
to
guys
that.
out is what we do best.
Okay. Thanks, Hilary. Good chat.
Thanks.